You know, when I first started middle school, I told myself that I was going to become this academic weapon, the kind of student that could swat down homework assignments like flies and finish projects the very first day they were assigned. But within a week, one big rule threatened to derail my entire plan. My school didn't enforce deadlines. Now, at first glance, I know what you're thinking. No deadlines? That just means no urgency, and no urgency means no pressure. But without deadlines, there was nothing forcing me to do my work on time. Have you ever noticed how people only seem to take real change when faced with adversity? Picture a ship trying desperately to outrun a storm. The crew only seems to spring into action when the storm hits. Now, I don't know too much about ships, or crews for that matter, but just as the crew desperately tries to circumvent a storm, I too desperately always try to get around my deadlines. Today, I want to explore how perceived threats like deadlines, crises, and even real dangers all hold the potential to give us the courage to change. Let's dive in. Deadlines, am I right? That project coming up next week, or that paper due at midnight. Deadlines are terrifying, but deadlines are powerful because they give us the courage to change. They have the ability to cut through the clutter and show what's really important to us. Let's dial it back a bit. Let me tell you a personal story. A couple months ago, I had an essay that was due at the end of the month, and naturally, I procrastinated it for weeks. Come to the day of the deadline, all my friends are discussing how they had procrastinated it the night before while I was just sitting there in school, nodding, knowing full well that I hadn't even started. When I got home that day, I sat through, grinding through that essay for 4 hours straight. And eventually, I ended up turning it in just a couple of minutes before that deadline. And I know you might be wondering, what's the moral of the story here? Am I advocating for procrastination? I mean, after all, I had successfully procrastinated that month-long assignment and had successfully turned it in that night. But looking back on it, after midnight, as I was reading over my work, a sense of regret began to sink in. Had I really give this essay my best work? I mean, a lot of times, it might seem that procrastination is an acceptable course of action. I mean, that math assignment, surely you don't need to give that assignment your best work, right? I mean, just a couple calculations here and there. But for that particular essay, I really knew that that wasn't my best work. I mean, I had tried, but when I got my grade back, I was just left with this feeling of disappointment. I mean, I could have gotten a much better grade if I had just started earlier. To those of us who procrastinate, we tend to make a lot of excuses justifying it to ourselves. Like, oh, procrastination is good because it ended up working out all right. I got a semi-decent grade. Or procrastination is all right because, well, you know, I had other stuff come up. I was busy. But at the end of the day, if we had the ability to procrastinate and give it a subpar quality of work, then why hadn't we started that assignment before? Why hadn't we gotten the ball rolling on that work we needed to do? Because if I was able to give my best work, or at least something close to my best work in that 4 hours, then I really should have been able to get that work done weeks ago. I could have given that essay the best work of my life. And truly, a lot of times in life, I have struggled with procrastination. But it's not just with deadlines. Just as deadlines use pressure to cut through the clutter, there are many other things in life that pressure us to change. As I continue my story today, I want you all to answer a question in your minds. Is procrastination really bad? Whether you believe the answer is yes or you believe the answer is no, I want you to keep that answer in your mind as I continue. So let's move past deadlines. What other forms of pressure are there? For some, they experience a midlife crisis. Now, they're often painted as a cliche. I mean, that spontaneous purchase of that truck, that random trip to Florida. But midlife crises, at their core, are just an opportunity for reflection. Take Steve Jobs, for an example. He once said that facing death was how he was motivated to continue giving his best work. I mean, surely it was what allowed him to deliver his best work and give the products that helped revolutionize the world. Facing mortality is what allowed Steve Jobs to change the world. But oftentimes in life, these crises are just another opportunity for change. Not all crises are midlife crises, though. There are sometimes even real dangers can incite courage to change. I once read a story about a man in his 40s who experienced a heart attack. Before, he had lived his life almost on loop. He was going through the monotonous daily actions of his life, day in, day out. But after experiencing his heart attack, he made some radical changes. He was able to really reevaluate what life meant to him. And if that isn't what danger can do to us, then what's the point? What am I trying to get at today? Every time we experience a threat in our lives, we get an opportunity to change. Every time we feel real danger, no matter how big or how small, we have an opportunity to take a step back and reflect. Before I wrap things up today, I want to leave you all with a quote. Sometimes it takes a storm to reveal the strength of our roots. Thank you.